From the pending arrival of a third party in the Alberta legislature to the Separatist petition collecting signatures south of the border and the building reaction to an Alberta MP crossing the floor. Time now for tonight's politics panel. And joining us this evening, Sarah Elder, founder of the political fashion brand Madam Premier. She's the host of the Briefing Note podcast and a former political staffer. And Chris Spearman, former mayor of Lethbridge. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta preparing to land in the legislature. Sarah, we just heard from the Tories' one and only MLA, Peter Guthrie, off the top. How big a deal is it that there will now be a third party in the legislature joining the governing UCP and the opposition NDP?
I really think that it's up to Peter Guthrie to define the destiny of the Progressive Tory Party. That's quite the name. If they remain at one MLA, or we'll have to see in 2027. But I think what they should be most concerned about as a party is voters being concerned with vote splitting in the next election and not wanting to take a risk on splitting the vote. Either way, depending on what side of the political fence, either UCP or NDP. And so that could just block them out of seats, like we saw what happened with the Alberta Party, just kind of fade away. But we'll have to see what transpires over the next days, weeks, and months and a year, I guess.
Chris, how do you see the arrival of the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta in the legislature impacting the political dynamic in our province?
Well, I think he's building a brand, Mr. Guthrie, and I think he's a very good communicator. He's got a great start, but he also recognizes he's got a big challenge ahead of him. I think even Peter Lougheed, it took him a couple of attempts before they were elected as the government, and I think he knows that he has to attract good candidates and he has to attract financing. But he's doing an excellent job. I admire his initiative. And there's a lot of progressive conservatives who are just sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. And hopefully he can inspire them to become re-engaged in politics again in Alberta.
Sarah, in landing in the ledge, where do you see Peter Guthrie making potential inroads as he works, to Chris's point, to build the party to the point of election readiness? Is there an issue he could capitalize on?
I mean, it seemed from his comments that he really wants to capitalize on the separation issue. I think he more or less labeled the UCP as a separatist party. The NDP is also taking the angle with their pledge about Alberta staying in Canada. I'm wearing this today. I just want to make it clear because of the hockey game, as well as being obviously, a supporter of Canada as a sovereign nation, as a Canadian first. But where this leads us, I'm afraid this is kind of going to be a COVID 2.0 in terms of the division and separation that it causes within the province and politics, and if it leads us in a worse place than we started. My concern is that this has become way too political. I wish we're not talking about separation. I wish we were talking about growing and building the economy, about investing in healthcare and education, about addressing the needs of Albertans, but here we are.
Here we are indeed. And to carry on the conversation, it appears the collection of signatures for the petition that's pushing for an Alberta referendum on separation will move south of the border this weekend. A post to social media by the group Stay Free Alberta notes a signing event for Alberta snowbirds Saturday at a business in Yuma, Arizona. And according to Elections Alberta, it's all good. In a statement to CTV Calgary, it notes that legislation does not prohibit signature collection outside the province and that canvassers be registered with Elections Alberta. Chris, what's your read on the need to collect petition signatures in the U.S.? Is this as simple as thinking outside the box?
Well, I think they're trying to get as many signatures as possible. My initial thought was they seem desperate. They seem worried about achieving the goal, even though the bar has been lowered for them. But if Elections Alberta is not opposed to this and the legislation doesn't prevent it, I think, in one way it generates publicity, and that's what they're trying to do as well. They seem to be trying to generate more publicity than actually gather signatures. And some of their signature locations have been pathetic here in Alberta. I guess they'll try down south, and Elections Alberta is going to verify the validity of all the signatures. They're going to do testing. They will allow some. I think 5% of the Forever Canadian ones were disallowed. I think they got about 467,000 signatures, and about 430,000 were validated. So I think the same process will apply, and all signatures. Americans won't be able to sign this.
Sarah, what kind of shadow do you see this potentially casting over separatist petition efforts? Or is it fair play in your opinion?
It might be fair play as per the legislation, but I don't think it's a good look at all. I think it just sends a signal that, to even the poster having the Alberta flag joined with the flag of Arizona, I think will put a lot of people off. And, it'll be interesting. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to cover this event in Arizona. But you know what? The thing that I think snowbirds really love? Healthcare. Canadian healthcare. And so the pitch to have them sign this petition, I think when we get down to the brass tacks of what's really at stake in terms of pension, in terms of healthcare, in terms of all of the things that snowbirds love, while also loving traveling to the US for some sunnier months every year, I don't think it's going to be a pitch that is well received.
All right, time for us to take a bit of a break. But when we come back, fallout from Alberta MP Matt Genereux crossing the floor to the Liberals. More from our politics panel in a moment. Welcome back. Matt Genereux's decision to cross the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals is drawing mixed reaction. Here's some of what voters are saying in the MP's Edmonton Riverbend riding.
Well, I voted Liberal in the last election, and obviously Mr. Genereux was elected here. And so I'm just pleased that he crossed the floor and we're that much closer to a majority government.
The man's a coward. He's a liar.
Do you feel betrayed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people here did not vote for a Liberal government, and that's who he's supporting.
There were rumors late last year that Genereux would cross the floor, but instead announced at the time he would be resigning as an MP in the months ahead. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre responding in a social media post accusing Genereux of betraying his constituents and that the Prime Minister is trying to seize a Liberal majority through dirty backroom deals. Sarah, floor crossings involving Alberta politicians haven't always gone well. Case in point, Danielle Smith and 8 other MLAs leaving the Wild Rose to join the governing Progressive Conservatives back in 2014, a party that Matt Genereux just happened to be in an MLA with at the time. What's your take on Wednesday's development?
Well, I mean, it's in the historical context of thinking about what happened with Danielle Smith. Look where she is now. She's the Premier of Alberta. So, although Albertans can be very vocal and have very strong opinions at the time, I think they can also be very forgiving. So this will ultimately be a decision left to the voters of Genereux's riding, and we'll have to see if they either support his decision or not. But I think that the outrage is a little bit outrageous, actually, because everybody loves a floor crosser when it's to their best interest, to their party. And so I think everyone should just take a breath on this and let it play out, and we'll see what happens in the next election.
Chris, 3 floor crossings in all from different parts of the country, the Maritimes, Ontario, and now Alberta of all places. What does that suggest to you?
Well, I think people are concerned about Pierre Poilievre's leadership. This is just a few weeks after the convention. Now, recognize that people who went to the convention had to commit to endorsing Poilievre before they were accepted as candidates, but that didn't always play well with everybody in the Conservative caucus. You see different people like this Damel Devani going to the States and getting a slight slap on the wrist from Pierre Poilievre. other Conservatives in the rest of Canada want to be part of Canada and see other MPs misbehaving and Pierre Poilievre doing nothing about it. And I think that undermines the confidence of Conservative MPs in the House of Commons. You know, he has a strong base here in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, but in the rest of the country, I think his handle on the caucus is not so strong.
Sarah, former Conservative Deputy Leader Lisa Raitt has issued a message to sitting MPs considering crossing the floor, and that's get it over with. Don't draw this out. What's your read on others maybe following Matt Genereux?
It's entirely possible. I think that the path to victory for any party right now is moderation, refraining from engaging in really kind of niche issues, whatever they may be, whether it's for the NDP, the Palestine, if it's for the Liberals, well, that's like a whole other thing. And then for the Conservatives, it's all of these things like, as mentioned, Jamil Javani's trip to the United States. You know, if Pierre Poilievre was to moderate his message, get his MPs and caucus in line, not be so reluctant, in my opinion, to sometimes embrace the flag, the positivity of what it means to be Canadian, to celebrate what it means, just to be a little, again, moderation. There would be more Canadians who I think would be willing to vote for him and for their party and for MPs, but this is entirely up to him. However many people leave after this, if there are any, this is on him to explain and to address.
Chris, how do you see Pierre Poilievre needing to respond to this if he is to retain a firm hold on the party, a firm hold on his caucus?
Well, Pierre Poilievre has received advice from Stephen Harper. He's received advice from Jason Kenney. They are taking a unity message forward. They are attacking separatists. They're saying Canada needs to stand together. And I don't see Pierre Poilievre listening to that. And I don't see any change in tone. And he takes every opportunity to attack the Liberals, attack Mark Carney. And that's not what's needed right now. He needs to give his head a shake, and the people advising him need to make sure that Pierre Poilievre is listening.
Sarah, adding Genereux to the caucus edges the Liberals ever closer to a majority. With the need for a trio of by-elections drawing near, where do you think this maybe leaves the prospect of an early federal election?
I don't think it's a good look for the federal Liberals to have a majority, even if it's a single MP through floor crossings. I don't think that's exactly what Canadians want to see. I wouldn't be opposed personally to going to an election. It's entirely within the realm of possibilities. Mark Carney could absolutely say, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I absolutely need a mandate, and I'm going to ask Canadians for it. But as long as Pierre Poilievre keeps this same messaging, the same tone, the same kind of Trumpiness, he's sentencing himself to potentially 4 more years in opposition if he even lasts that long as leader.
Okay, we have to leave it there for time. Great to see you both. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.